So I wanted to share today about basically like all the changes that I've made to the way I plan and create content because I've always been like very vocal about that, very vocal about repurposing and um yay, hi Brett, I'm so happy to have you. I feel like I've always been very vocal about that, about repurposing, and I still believe in that very much, but we've definitely made some changes. And so just wanting to kind of like share all of that with y'all, be transparent about that. I think that something I've like really learned and been leaning into in this season, whether it has to do with content or I shared about this recently in terms of Megan and I no longer are working together and her no longer being CEO of Lit Up Life effective April 1st. And what I've really been leaning to in this season is like, just because we've always done it one way doesn't mean we have to do it that way. And just because we're changing how we did it, it doesn't mean that wasn't right for the time. And so I really, really want to preface this by saying that there were seasons, many seasons in my business where the absolute best thing I could have done for myself, my life, my business, my success was to fully and completely repurpose everything. And that's why I talked about it so much and so often because it served me so well in that season. And it is like the singular reason I feel like I was able to grow the way I did, go on maternity leave, all of those things. And I'm doing something different right now because the season of my life is different. And so I just feel like it's really important to say all that because one, I never want what someone else to make what they're doing wrong because I'm doing something different. And two, I also never want it to feel like how I'm doing it is supposed to be the way that you're doing it. Like how I'm doing it is applicable to where I'm at this stage of life and business. So please remember that. And maybe you're at a similar place and it's really, really, really helpful to you. Or maybe you're not, but you have a client who is, and that's really helpful. It doesn't matter. But the point is, this isn't like this is how we're supposed to do content now, or that was wrong before. It's like Lacey's business and life have evolved, and this is how it's going. So that is my what is that called? Like my warning or what is that? I don't know what I'm trying to say. That word is gone, but you guys know what I mean. That feels like an important piece of context before we dive in because I think it's so disclaimer. Thank you, Rebecca. I could not get that word. That is my disclaimer. Yes. Um, see, this is me being tired. Yep, disclaimer is the word. Yep. Bless you all. So anyway, this just feels important because yeah, I just always want to be transparent with y'all. So let's talk about what has changed and evolved. So I was explaining this to one of my clients like this the other day, and I think it was a really good way to explain it. Where we always used to create content with the Facebook group in mind, and then everything else would come like off of that, right? And so that's one thing that we've changed is now we create content with Instagram in mind, and everything else comes off that. And that isn't because I don't think Facebook groups matter or I don't think my Facebook group is important. If anything, it's where I have the largest singular audience online. But two reasons we've changed that. One is because, and the way I was saying this to a client is like, my Facebook group has always been my baby, right? But I've had that baby for 8 years and that baby can have more independence now, right? I feel like if you're a mama, you totally get what I mean. Where like there's a stage of motherhood where they need absolutely everything from you. And then there's a stage where like the leash lengthens, so to speak, and there's more independence and all of that. And so I really feel like that about the Facebook group where I'm like, we've been doing this so solidly and so consistently that it's in a place where I can give it a little more space and freedom and still trust that it will be okay. Whereas my Instagram, I've never really focused on ever. And so for right now, I need that to be my baby. Right. You might be in the exact opposite situation. You might have a different baby. You might have a different place where you can like lengthen the cord of independence or whatever. But I'm just sharing that to get into the specifics of why that feels true for me. So the Facebook group, I feel like I saw my teeth, has always been the baby. Now it's like the big kid, right? And the baby needs more of my attention, which is now Instagram. And so that has been a really helpful way for me to look at things, which isn't like, oh, I'm giving this part up. It's like this part of my business has the ability to have a little more independence because I've cultivated such a strong community there. I've been doing this for so long. And this other part of my business, I've never really given that attention. And so if I want that to grow, I have to treat it like it's my baby, right? Or it's never going to grow there because that's what's required, initially, right? Like the baby has to be the baby in order to get there and grow. Hey, Alyssa, looking forward to diving into nitty gritty content changes with you. Amazing. We will do that. Hey, Deborah, good to see you. Oh, I forgot to say, reminder, if you comment at all today, you're entered to win any one of our products. So you can just pick which one you want. We just released a new one last week, which is amazing. It's called the Ultimate Mini Course to Maximizing Results in One-on-One Coaching. So you may want to choose that, but you can choose anything. But if you haven't already, you can download module 1 of the Ultimate Mini Course for free. So remember to do that if you are here and haven't done that. But again, if you comment, you're entered to win any product you get to pick. I can drop the link for the mini course. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. It might just be like /mini course. Let me see. /mini course. Nope. Yes, that is what it is. Okay, I'll put that in. Okay, amazing. Anyway, moving on. So now we're creating content with Instagram in mind. Yes, it just went live last week. I haven't really like pushed it yet or promoted it a ton. Jess, I need to get my shit together, but it's out. Jess helped me she helped me like maximize, revamp, edit the sales page. Please drop the link. Gonna go on my wish list. Working through million here now. Amazing. Okay, yes, just put it in there. So now I create with that in mind, but we still repurpose. So now I create content with Instagram in mind, but we still repurpose that to Facebook group and other places, right? And so I think that's important to say is like, you might just change like, what is your pillar place or, platform, and then you can still repurpose. Like I can't imagine not repurposing in my business, but I do think that you have to be okay with knowing that where like the repurposed content probably won't perform as well as the like platform specific content. Does that make sense? So when I only focused on the Facebook group, my Instagram never performed as well. And I was okay with that because I was like, it's fine. The Facebook group is where I'm getting most of my traffic, and that's great. It's okay that this other platform isn't performing as well. Same now, like, I'm like, okay, Instagram is where I'm like tracking the most metrics. I know if I'm repurposing, like the content will still do well. Again, the Facebook group can still come along, but I'm not going to expect explosive growth there because I'm not doing platform specific content. And so I think that that's something that we all have to like be aware of, and that has changed with content, is that like when you're repurposing, you're not going to get the same level of result because platforms have changed so much, right? Like you can repurpose stuff from Instagram to TikTok, but TikTok content is a bit different than what's great on Instagram. And like sometimes there's overlap and it's good, but like if you want to blow up on TikTok, you have to create content for TikTok. Does that make sense? And so repurposing is still a really important tool, but it's more of a tool for consistency, nurturing, that kind of thing. And it's less of a tool for like massive growth, And I think that that has to be okay because I know I personally don't have time to be like, what is Facebook group specific content? What is TikTok specific content? What is Instagram specific content? Like you just can't do it. So like letting yourself be okay with that, I think is really, really important. And recognizing that like repurposing still has a very important role in your business. And we have to like have reasonable expectations around that. Hey, Claire, she's a great insight. Need to focus more on Instagram. Yeah. Totally. Hey, Sarah, killing the sweater game. Thank you. I'm obsessed with this one. It's Farm Rio. I like love all their stuff. Deborah said, makes sense. Emma said, I found I actually need to focus on LinkedIn as I'm mostly marketing to tech startups now, which is a very different audience than Instagram. So it's hard to figure out how to repurpose. Yeah, totally. Deborah said she's also considering LinkedIn as main platform. So that's really the thing that you'd be like, okay, LinkedIn is my main platform content. So I'm really going to go all in on there. And then I may repurpose some of that to Instagram, but my expectation on Instagram then isn't like massive reach and growth. It's like massive reach and growth I'm trying to get on LinkedIn. And then Instagram might just be like a nurture tool where if someone from LinkedIn comes over there, they're like, oh yeah, her content's really consistent and great. Cool. Does that make sense? Like, I think that's really important. There's no one right thing, but I think like expectation setting it and knowing like where your opportunities are so important. So that's really what we're doing. We're like, okay, Facebook group is coming. We're going to keep building community. We're going to keep nurturing, but we're really going to push for growth on Instagram. Okay, amazing. So that's where my head's at. So the other thing about that that's different is I used to always have let me think of how I can explain this. I used to kind of always have my team like pull content from other stuff I was doing. So I'd be like, pull content from the podcast, pull content from my live stream, all that kind of stuff. Give me that, then I'll rework it, and that will be the content we use. So it's always like, get me to 80 to 90%, and I'll take it across the finish line. And I think what's hard about that is that just doesn't work as well for reels based content, right? It definitely works for carousels, captions, things like that. But for reels, I don't think it works as well at all because, like, I mean, for like a multitude of reasons, right? Like, they don't have, like, I would have to upload every piece of like video or B roll I have. I would have to, like, they would have to concept all of it, all of that kind of stuff. Where, like, let me try to think of how I'm trying to say this. So the way that I now create content from like an Instagram perspective is like I'll find an audio or something that I like and then create content from there. Where before it was like I'm already talking about a topic and then my team repurposes and we create from there. So it's harder to have team take a reel to 80% because it's almost like they're having to ideate instead of me ideating, right? And what I always want my content to be is about like coming from me. And so it worked before because it was coming from like the podcast or the live stream, but now to try to like match up that with an audio, like that's so much fucking work for them. That makes no sense. So now I just like make the whole thing. And then they'll take what I ended up making as a reel and then use that to repurpose content. So that like take it to 80 to 90% has changed. And we've kind of reworked that. So that part is interesting too. I still think there are many use cases for take it to 80 to 90%, right? Like we still do that in most other areas of the business, but in this specific scenario, it just didn't work as well. I just wasn't like happy with most of those things, and I knew they wouldn't perform. Like just taking a clip of my live stream and putting it on Instagram was never going to perform like me actually making a reel. And sometimes we just have to like acknowledge that, right? Or again, if I didn't want Instagram to be my main platform for growth, then I could easily do that. I could be like, just take clips of my live streams, my podcast, put it there. It's a great nurture tool. Done. That would be fine. Right. But because I'm focusing there, it's not fine. And I'm okay with giving that my focus. And so I think it's just important to say that. Like, there is not a right or wrong, but there is like a let's be serious about what it's actually going to take to grow. What's going to grow over there is not me just repurposing clips. It's not. Right. And so I can just be honest with myself about that and be like, okay, if I want to, then what is it going to take from me? And am I willing to give that? Or am I okay with like, the level set here? Either is fine. But for me, that definitely shifted. Yeah. Deborah said it was such a good human design generator. Many strategy. Yes, I'm a generator for sure. Deborah said the focus shifted. It's the intentionality. Yes, exactly. So now I will create all the reels and captions, and then my team will take that and repurpose it. So we're still repurposing. We're still getting like multiple use cases out of a piece of content. It just looks really different. And personally, I'm having so much fun with it. And I think that's important to say too. I really enjoy like mastering something and learning something. And so this has been like a really fun thing for me in my business to be like, I want this season to be about mastering something new and fun and experimentation. And I love that. So I've just been experimenting with like a ton of different types of reels, pieces of content, like what works, what doesn't, what does my audience like, what do they not? And I've just been having so much fun with that in a way that I wasn't having as much fun with content for a while because it was so like, I do a live stream, my team writes stuff from that, they take it, they repurpose it, right? Like all of that was good. And I needed that in my life. Like I really needed that systematic piece, especially when I was pregnant, had a newborn, my father was sick, like all of that stuff. It was like, thank God for that because that is like what kept my business going. But also, when you have more spaciousness, sometimes it is really fun to have something that's new and different and exciting. And you just have to know your season and be able to lean into that. So I think that that's what's important. And I really feel like what I always give myself a lot of credit for and is that like it's a no for me until it's not, but nothing is ever a never. Like there was a while where I was like, I want nothing to do with reels. And I really like was fine with that until I was like, and now I do, and that's okay. And I think just like giving yourself that of like lean into the season you're in, feel great about what you're doing and make that work for you. Where I think I really also went right that I think a lot of people won't do is they don't master one thing before they move on to the next. Like I feel like I was really like, we have content down. I know what works for the Facebook group. I know how to get clients from it. I have a great system. I have fully like mastered that. And so now it feels good to like add something else onto that instead, where I think a lot of people bounce around is they're like, well, I haven't even nailed this, but I'm trying to add this, this, and this. And they're just all over the place and there's no consistency. So for us, like having already done that, I think is why Reels popped for us so quickly and why it went so well, because I already knew the kind of content that worked in my audience really, really well. And so I just got to go apply that as opposed to being like, I don't know, I never really nailed it. And so now I'm kind of like just guessing, right? It was like, I'm going to try a bunch of different stuff and I'm going to experiment. But fundamentally, like I already know a lot of what works in the messaging around that. So that's really important to remember too. Like, yes, we want to bring more fun and experimentation into it, but from a foundation that's like, I know this, I know what works. Um, and I think when we don't do that is when it feels like nothing's working for me, right? Again, what is so interesting about, I think what has happened is so we were like, we're not growing on Instagram at all for a while. And again, it was fine. That wasn't what my business needed. And I would say I've been doing reels and focusing there for, I think, about 4 months. Like our audience has grown by thousands, I think, at least a couple thousand in 4 months of me just and the first couple months of that were like maybe 2 reels a week. I think I've only started doing more now because they're just coming so easily to me now because I have 4 months under my belt. So now I'm just doing more because I just find them to be really, really easy content now. Like in many ways, reels are the easiest content I've ever created, which is interesting because I wouldn't have thought that before. But we've just had so much growth in that time period for what I would consider not a huge amount of effort. But again, I think that's because we already had such a good foundation and already knew what was working. So I think that's important to say too, is like, you may slightly want to shift your strategy or you may focus on a new platform or whatever the case is, but you got to kind of know what's already going well to see it go well somewhere else, right? Belinda said, I always think seeing you on Reels is AI. So funny. The reels you've been putting out have been so fun. Thank you, Deborah. Yes, and I think that's what translates, honestly. Like I have been having a lot of fun with them. So I think you can feel that energy and that fun, and it's kind of that simple. So that's why I'm saying like take an era of fun and experimentation because I really think that's what lands. Like if you like I've never gone into it being like, how do I get a viral reel? Right? I've gone into it being like, oh, I want to nail this. I want to get really good at this. And I don't care if like 20 of them or 20,000 of them flop along the way. Like I'm going to figure it out. Um, but yeah, we already had that foundation. So I think that's really important. Um, I also think that, something else I would say is being really intentional and planful too. So I'll just kind of share some of the nitty gritty of how I plan. So what I do is on Friday afternoons, I decide what content I'm making. So I'll save like an audio, I'll write the hook, like I figure all that out in advance. Like on a Friday afternoon, I will figure that out. And then on Mondays, I always have a content block. And that's when I'll do the rest. Like I'll film whatever I need to film and I'll finish out the caption. And so I do it in two parts because I find it really hard to try to do all of it together. In terms of like find the audio, create the thing, then write the caption, then whatever. I like kind of need space because I like to be able to think about it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this audio and this hook. And then I have time to be like, oh, that'd be a fun way to film it. Or, oh, I'm going to do that. Like it gives me space to ideate and get like excited about that. So when Monday comes, it's really easy for me to like bang that out. So I'm not like making a reel every day. I only do it on Mondays. Um, and yeah, like I still batch create and batch record. Obviously the one difference would be I record B-roll at different times. Like I just set my phone up right here, and did like a time lapse of me doing this live stream because that's B-roll I can use. You know what I mean? Um, so like obviously sometimes I'm recording B-roll outside of a Monday, but even that, a lot of times what I'll do on a Monday for my content block is just record a bunch of B-roll. So but it's helpful to have that differentiated from when I'm picking like the audio and the hook and stuff because it's much easier then for me. So both are like small, fun processes as opposed to like, having to spend a whole day doing it and feeling like really overwhelmed by it. The focus of fun is so important. Yes. Thank you, Kathy. And thank you about the sweater. I love that. Do you have team help you to edit? I actually don't, Deborah. I just find it so much harder, or I find the process would take so much longer to like upload a bunch of B-roll to them to tell them like the vision to have like it's so much easier for me to just like go in and do it really quickly. I think especially because Instagram has templates now. So, most reels, if you see something and you like it, you can just use the template and upload your shit into it. And it's so fast. And so for me, like when we were discussing that with my team, we initially had the intention of team being the one to edit and put together. And then after trying that a bit, we were like, that is taking so much more time and energy from everyone. And so we don't, I just do it now on the Monday and it's really fast for me. But I really think that it's just time doing it. Like, I think I probably made five or six reels this morning. In like, I don't know, including captions, a couple hours. Yeah, at least. And it's just because I'm like, have gotten really fast at it because now I'm like 4 months into it. And I think like, yeah, 4 months can seem like a really long time, but it's the blink of an eye in a sense. And so I think it's just about like sticking with something until it's easy. Like the first few reels I made probably took me 2 hours for one because I was like, how do I edit this? What button am I pressing? What is this? How do I get this? Now I'm like, so, and again, the templates I think on Instagram are so helpful too. Such a friend in this process. Didn't know that. That's awesome. Yeah. How long do you usually set aside for content? I would say I usually do like a 2 hour block on Mondays is what it usually takes me. And then the Friday, the planning is like, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes. So maybe 2.5 hours. It's so great to hear it took you 2 hours at the beginning. I definitely feel wrong about how long it takes me. Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, it's like the same for me as when I was like writing weekly content forever ago. Like at first it took me a really long time and then it got so fast and easy. And I think that's the same thing with anything is like, it's literally just get in the reps. Like when you get in the reps, it gets really easy. And then your brain just starts thinking like that. Like my brain would never ever think in reels before. And now it's like the only way I think about content because I just have the reps in. And so I think it's just a reminder of like, it's not like I'm bad at reels or I'm bad at video or I'm whatever, like all these stories we tell ourselves. It's just like, have you put the reps in? Like I would be bad at running right now because I haven't ran in forever. But there was a time in my life where I was really good at running because I ran a lot. And I think the exact same thing is true here. And also makes the perfectionist part of me think I need to take an Instagram class. I mean, I don't think that that's bad necessarily, but I also think like probably the same thing is going to be true is like, does the class just help you get in the reps? And if it does, like it will probably make it easier. One thing that I did that I loved is one of my clients, she teaches other therapists how to grow on Instagram and she has like a really amazing membership. Let me see if I can just give you guys a link. And it's like $37 a month. It's so fucking amazing. And she just gives you real ideas every week. And technically they're for therapists, but it's been really easy for me to apply to my business. Um, and so I just started with that. And that's like all I did at first. And now I get tons of my own Reels ideas. And like I'm still a member of it and still use it, but like it's not like the sole way that I'm getting ideas, but it was for a little bit because I was like, okay, I just need to like get better at this. And so I'm just gonna like blinders on, do these. And then I like expanded from there. So, no right way, but I do think that it's like helpful to just be like, I would have said like, oh, I would never be good at this. And now I feel like I'm getting way better at it. Katie said, this is so helpful. I spent so much time on two reels this morning and feel better knowing it's not just me. No, not at all. And then also, like, something that I really thought about too is like just picking the ones that are easiest for me and that I already have shit for, So, like, Kelly will give you some each week, and some are like multi part reels and stuff like that. And I did some of those to practice, but like, ultimately, I don't do a lot of those because they're just, like they just take longer for me. So I think even that, just know what's quick for you and what's not and lean into that. Like the voiceover ones are really fast for me and the like B-roll ones are really fast for me. So that's the majority of what you'll see on my Instagram because I'm going to pick the thing that's easiest unless every now and then I'll be like, oh, I really want to do that one. So it's like worth the extra time. Like I did a funny one about like things with that people without businesses say, and it was like a multi-part thing. Okay, well, obviously that one took me a little bit longer, but like it was more fun. But like, right, I was just like, oh, this is funny and fun. But it's totally not like the main source of my content ideas. Do you think having a following on Instagram is an important mark of credibility, or have you found that you're making sales on IG too? Oh yeah, no. I mean, I think like the only way you get that following is show up and post. Like I said, I think we've grown by like a couple thousand at least over the course of a few months. And it's like the only way your following's ever going to grow is if you do that first. So like there's no way to like have the big following and the credibility before that. And so, but also like I was making, $1 million a year in my business before I ever focused on Instagram. So it's totally, totally possible. I think it's just kind of being willing to sit in the gap. You know what I mean? And also, like, following isn't really always what matters. Like, I've had multiple reels. Like, to me, when I think of what viral means, is it means your reel is reaching more people than you even have followers. So I've had multiple reels go viral. I also, if I look at like my views on Reels, get just as many, if not more views than a lot of people with bigger audiences. So to me, it's not about like how many followers do you have? It's like, is your content landing with the right people? And if it does, it will continue to get reach. So I think that's really important way to think about it too. And honestly, sometimes it only takes like one or two pieces of content to really pop things. And I don't mean that like you should be trying to go viral, like it can just grow over time, but also, a lot of people that like have had that experience of getting a really big following, it's because like a couple things popped. Like one of my clients just had a reel go viral in January and she doubled her following. So she was at like 13K. Now she's at like 25K in like a month. So like, and it was from like one reel that just like really, really crushed. And so like, don't let that stop you because if anything, like that could change overnight. But I don't think it's like the only mark of credibility unless you're literally teaching reels. Like if you're teaching, here's how to grow with reels and you're not growing, obviously that's a problem. But otherwise, I really don't think it matters. Like, you know what I mean? Like if that's not what you're teaching, like you don't have to have that as a credibility marker. So I think that's valuable. Kind of like, if you're like all about like having amazing makeup, then yeah, you might want to show up on Instagram with your makeup done all the time. If you're not doesn't matter. Who cares? Um, so yes. Okay. Let me think of what else I wanted to say on this. Okay. So, oh, that's what I was talking about. Okay. So basically I do the ideation on a Friday. I create on a Monday. And then the way that we have it set up with my team is we have a spreadsheet, um, where I put in, I'm just pulling up the spreadsheet so I can tell you. It's like what to post, who posts it, and what's the status, and then the date at the top. So it'll be like today, I posted 10 things you might not know about me. Who posts it? It's me because it's a reel saved to my phone. So I just went in and hit share this morning on a reel that was already ready. And then the status is ready to post, and then I can change it to posted, right? Where like for next week, I have what to post, and it's like carousel post 73. Who posts it? My team, because they can go in and post a carousel post. And the status is ready to post, meaning like the carousel's created, it's done, it's ready, and my team's going to post it. And so me or my team can go into this spreadsheet at any time and see who's posting today, what's ready, what's not. And it makes it really easy. And I like it too because I can move shit around. Um, Oh, Jess said Kelly is having a free challenge next week. Yeah. So Kelly is who I just shared the Reels membership for. So she's doing a free Reels challenge next week. So you guys could sign up for that. She's amazing. Um, Making Instagram content feels a lot like auditioning as an actress. You never know when your big break's going to hit. I love that, Katie. So true. And also sometimes it doesn't matter. Like I did a whole live stream recently, maybe a couple weeks ago, about how I had one reel go to over 1 million and it like really did nothing for me. So like, it's a crapshoot, but like ultimately, like if you keep staying in the game, you're gonna get growth. It's gonna work and you're gonna learn a lot about your audience along the way, and that really matters. So um sorry if I missed it. What platform do you keep all this content info on? Trello, Google Doc? Yes, good call, Michelle. It's a Google Doc, Excel, like a Google Sheet. That's what it's called. I'm like, what the fuck is that called? It's a Google Sheet. We keep it in. Where do you keep your posts before then? I think you said Reels just sit in your drafts folder, but what about others? Yeah, so Reels just sit in my drafts folder. Um, that's it. And then the carousels we keep in Google Drive on like a doc. Um, yeah, and then Michelle, we use Google Sheets to track that. And it's nice because it feels like I just created a reel this morning that I liked and thought was funny. And so I changed the post that was going to go out tomorrow to this one or whatever. Like it just gives you freedom to move shit around in this um document, which I really like too. So I like know I have a bunch planned out, but I can move something or change something. And so I think sometimes people get really like weird about reels of like, oh, I don't want to create too many in advance. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, again, just getting in the reps, even if I never post one of them because I decide to post something else, like getting in the reps of creating it and having a bunch saved up is really useful to me. So we have some that are really like timeless in the sense that you could just put any audio over it. And we have those saved, including the videos in a Google Drive. This is important to say. We have about 12, I think, reels, 10, 12, something like that saved in a Google Drive that are like timeless and could just have any audio put over them in case I'm like sick or don't want to do it that week or run out of time or whatever. That would, support me for maybe 3 weeks, if not more. Not that we couldn't just skip posting or use old ones, but like it is nice to know we have that too. So that's something that we have because I always like to feel like we have buffer or like it doesn't matter if I want to not do it 1 week or if I'm sick 1 week. I think that was one of my fears of getting into reels is I was like, oh, I don't want to feel like I'm on the hook for this 24/7. And having that buffer makes me feel like I'm not. Like I'm like, I have plenty created, I have plenty in drafts. Plus, I have this bank in Google Drive where like I could not create for a couple months potentially and it would be fine. And so just having that is actually what makes me want to keep creating, ironically, because I never feel like, that's so much pressure. I'm like, I got it. And if I want to stop, I can stop. So that's a reminder too, is sometimes like having some banks that you can just use at any point is really, really helpful and can do a lot for your mindset in it too. Hi, Hi Monday. Oh my God. Hi Julie. Happy Monday is what I meant to say. My brain today. I told you guys I'm fucking tired. But yeah, that part really helps me too, is to be like, okay, these sit here. What else can I share with you guys about the specifics? Okay, so one other specific I would say is I look at insights on Instagram every day for every post. You may or may not be a data freak like me. You don't have to look at everyone. I don't personally care how each one performs necessarily. Like, I'm not like, I'm so upset about this one, but I want to, like, because this is my season of experimentation and because I'm focused on Instagram, you best believe I'm going to look at every fucking piece of data I can get from that. And then I also look at it in terms of my dashboard and traffic. I'm only doing this if I see Instagram sending us a lot of traffic and seeing the value of that. And I will say, like, it's been really cool to watch that. Like, Instagram is now like our highest traffic source, and it's been cool to be like, oh, I can make that happen. Um, like if I just look at January on my dashboard, like our traffic from Instagram went up 26%. And it's like our highest traffic source outside of like obviously direct hits and stuff like that. So I mean, that's just telling me like it's worth it, it's working. And so I really try to focus on that. Hey, Adrian. Hey, Laura. Oh, good. I'm so glad it's helpful. What do you like to look at in your insights? I mean, I look at all of it and just try to figure out how it fits together. Like I can, like, for this is just an example, but like I did one that was just my audio. It was like my original audio or whatever they say. And I'm like, oh, that's so interesting because I can see I reach more of my audience, but less of a new audience. What do I think about that? Do I want to reach more of my audience? Do I always want to use an audio to reach where where I might reach less of a new audience? Like I try to look at like the whole picture of what that insight is telling me. But like if I like to look at plays because to me that tells me a lot. Like, oh, are people watching it multiple times? That's great. Are people, is it reaching more people? And then I obviously look at the reach. But again, I'm trying to get like full picture because I think it's like all telling you something, or like, oh, I can see my plays really fell off at this point. Would this one be doing better if I had cut it 3 seconds shorter? Like I just try to figure out what story is it trying to tell me. Um, Hey Liz, hey Hazel, so good to see you. What does your ideation process look like at the moment? IG prompts you ask yourself before creating must have missed this, just hop out. No problem. I actually shared Hazel like a Reels membership that I did at the beginning. Well, I'm still doing, but I used exclusively at the beginning that I really, really like, where she gives you all the prompts. But then for me, I just right now, I just like save audio and Reels that I like as inspo. Like I'm like, oh, that audio is so funny. I would like to use that, or oh, that's so great, or oh, that's trending. Like, and I think in many ways, this is why it's the easiest content I've ever created. I'm a generator. And so, it's like to respond. And so content creation was always for me, I was like, oh, I'm responding to my audience. So I would try to take things client said or people asked and create content from that, which worked, but it was still very much like from the bottom. And so I'm like, feel like Reels is the easiest shit I've ever done because it's such a responsive thing. Like I'm responding to that audio or that template or example or whatever. And so it's interesting because I wouldn't have realized that, or I would have thought Reels would be harder for my brain because I would have been like, oh my God, I don't know where to begin. And now that I've been doing it, I'm like, this works with my personality or my like human design or whatever you want to say so well because it's such a responsive thing. So I think that's kind of fun and cool. Where it feel like I think that's one of the reasons it's felt so easy for me. And that's why I like my ideation time is like 30 minutes because I'm like, I like that audio. That's funny. I want that. And like Kelly gave me this prompt done, which I think is really great. And then also the more you do it, the more you realize what your audience is responsive to. And so then you get even more ease in figuring it out. You're like, oh, everybody loves it when I talk about this or do this. Okay, easy. And I think it just gets simpler and simpler from there. So again, for me now being like 4 months into this, I'm like, oh, this is so simple. Like you guys could even go like look at mine, go to my reels, go to the reels tab and see like which ones popped, which ones, got a lot of reach, got a lot of comments, did something great for us. and which ones didn't, and like learn from that. Like you could go learn from other people. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's really important to see too, is like it's not even just learning from your own, you can learn from other people's too. Mm. Fellow generator, I love the way you're thinking about it from an HG's perspective. Thank you. Yeah, I really feel like this was just such news to me. I wish someone would have like explained this to me a while ago. Like, if you're a generator, this is going to make your life so much easier. And it really has. Like, I'm like, I got this. This is easy shit. And it's funny because I was actually talking to one of my clients about this the other day. She was like, we were actually talking about her pulling back on reels. She's been doing like 2 a day. And we were like, maybe like your audience just doesn't have time to like engage with 2 a day. What if you pulled back? You might be getting better reach and engagement. And she was like, it's so funny because it's totally true, but it's so fucking easy for me and so fun for me that like I just like making 2 a day. And so we were discussing that because it's like the easiest content she's ever created as well. So I think it really can be fun to play with like that. I don't think that will be true for everybody, but for me, it's been really eye-opening to realize that, where I would have thought the opposite before I like really, really got into it. So I'm trying to think if there's any other specifics that I want to talk about. I talked about what we like, how we have some saved in case like I ever didn't want to create. I talked about our spreadsheet, my process. I think that's it. So ultimately, still repurposing, still, learning, gaining all the insights, have stuff banked, but different flow, different process. And again, I think it's just being willing to be like, what do I need at this season in my life? What needs to be my baby? Where am I really trying to grow? Where is my focus? And how can I adapt to that? And knowing that it will feel really, really clunky at first. Like if you go look back to the first reels I did in October, I watched one this morning and I was like, oh, you're so sweet. But like it's gotten better. It's gotten a lot better. But like being willing to just look silly at first and feel uncomfortable. Like I think you can tell in my first couple reels that I'm uncomfortable and it's fine. Like the way I got comfortable is I did the first couple. So hopefully that is useful and helpful and normalizing. If you guys have any other specific questions, happy to answer them. And remember, if you commented today, you're entered to win your choice of any one of our products. If you haven't already, grab the first module of the mini course for free. It's really good, I have to say. And it was kind of just like a labor of love project that I was really excited to share. So definitely grab that. I would so appreciate it if you tell me what you think of that. And I hope you guys have an amazing week. I am going to go get on a call, and then I'm probably going to take a nap if I'm being honest. Because again, I went out twice this weekend. What the heck? Yeah, Manali just grabbed the first module. I'm so happy to hear that. Love thinking of reels is responding. Yes, thank you for this mini course. Oh yes, Maggie, let me get it for you again. Hold on. I will post it. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate you guys so much. I will talk to you next week. Bye, y'all.